Research Associate Dr. Tilak Bahadur Shrestha, sir. Welcome to the Gorkha Spirit.
Namaste.
What do you think about Iran-Israel war? Some people just criticize it as a Christian and Muslim war. Some people believe that it's the war between U.S. NATO versus China, Russia. What do you think about this?
This is a little a complicated question, so it has to be slightly parsed out. Basically, it is about the religion of Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Both Christianity and Islam is intolerant. They do not tolerate other religions. And so in Europe, the Christians have killed lots of Jews. They were like Jew baiting, pogrom and all that against the Jews. And the same thing is also done by the Muslims also. They say what's called that, Jews as a Timiz, second-class citizen, and they have to pay jizya tax every year as a criminal tax, because for Islam, to be non-Muslim is a crime. And the jizya tax is the only option available for only Christians and Jews. For non-Christian Jews, that option is also available. They have to convert to Islam or run away or killed. That's simple as that. Now, in the Europe, there were thousands of years of oppressing Jews. And it became the chronic, or rather like a radical, when the Germans, the time of the Holocaust. Now, there were like almost 120 million Jews in the Europe then, and systematically they were butchered, half of them killed, like 60 million. That's a big number. And because of that, there's a serious question came in the Christian society that we have done really bad thing. And because of that, they say, okay, we have done really bad thing to Jews, and so let them have some space. But now, that was not, they were not given space in the Europe, but in the Palestine, Israel. Now, there is one justification that Jews came basically from Israel, and there are all the history and roots tied to there, like in the Jerusalem and all other places. So that also justified that way. However, it was not acceptable to Muslims. So the problem between Israel and Palestine is not about two-nation theory. It is about Islam and Christianity, basically. The Jews gets the only up front. Now, for example, when the Ottoman Empire was broken down, so you have the Iraq, Jordan, all this kind of been carved out. But there's no problem over there, because all of them were the Muslims. But however, the Israel is the only country given to the Jews. Now, the Islam does not tolerate non-Muslims. Also, if once a place is administered or reigned by the Muslims, then it cannot go to the other non-Muslim. That's the standard doctrine. And so even today, they call Spain, not Spain, but Al-Andalus, means once Spain was governed by a Muslim, once, so it should, if possible, back to the Muslim control. That's the basic theory behind that. Otherwise, if you look at the Islamic empire, all the way from Morocco, Tunisia, to Pakistan, and if you add Indonesia, Malaysia, and all that, so Israel is a small, very, very teeny part of the whole empire, but right at the center, and so they just don't want to tolerate. So if you look at the war in 1948, 67, all the times, the same thing, all the got together. Now what's happening is, for Israel, now the Americans are doing two things. In one side, they are supporting Israel. On the other side, if possible, to have a peace between Israel and the Muslim countries around. So there was a peace treaty with Egypt, with Jordan, and all that. And also, they are spending billions of dollars to give in to these Muslim nations so that they can grow and live in peace with Israel. So they have lots of money in like Gaza Strip and other places also. But the basic idea, the doctrine of Islam is not to tolerate non-Muslims, especially Jews. And so all the money they have spent, rather they'll make rockets, and the tunnels and all that. So that's what's happening. And now the Jordan not doing anything, Egypt not going to do anything. And so basically Iran is the only country which is supporting terrorism against Israel, say Hamas, by supported by Iran, Hezbollah supported by Iran, Houthis supported by Iran, right? So that's the problem. Now the second problem is when the Pakistan made the nuclear bomb, they are not saying this is a Pakistani bomb. They are not saying that. They are saying it's an Islamic bomb, right? And if Iran is able to make nuclear bomb, then they're going to use it. Simple as that. And so Israel is, and plus America, and plus the Western Europe are not going to tolerate this nuclear bomb, blackmailing. Same thing is doing the Pakistan doing against India, and the Modi come up very clearly. No more blackmailing. And so in the last month when the India attacked Pakistan, one of the target is nuclear sites also. So this is how things are. So in my opinion, if Israel is able to get rid of this, so there are a couple of things going to happen. Number one, there might be, I don't know, I cannot say now, there may be a regime change in Iran. And all the ayatollahs will go away, hopefully. And so the Iran gets a democracy. So that's good for Iranian people. Because Iranian people were not Muslim from the beginning. They have a long history of Faras, Persia, and all a very long story. And they were very nice, very secular type of the nation. And then the Islam came and imposed on them. When the king Reza Pahlavi, ran away, then only the Ayatollah Khomeini took over, and the Iranian people are actually suffering this regime of Islamic terrorism actually. And so the one solution would be regime change in Iran, and let the Iranians choose their own government by democratic process, and then that will be in peace with Israel, and they will forego unnecessary atomic bomb, pursuit of that, and remember the past, like there was a Emperor Cyrus who let Jews come back to Israel, and so there was a historical friendship between Israel, and the Persia, Paris, or the Iran, and so hopefully that will bring the real peace, but not like a ceasefire or this or that. I don't think Israelis or the Americans are going to agree to ceasefire. Now, if you add the component of Russian and Chinese, it has nothing to do with the religion part of it. It's purely geopolitics. Now, U.S. is supporting Ukraine against Russia, right? And so enemy of enemy is my friend kind of situation. So Russians may support Iran. Same thing, Chinese also. There is a problem with Taiwanese case. So China may support Iran, right? Now, that they do it not because they get a benefit out of it, but that way they can say to all the Arab and Muslim countries, hey, you know what, we are your friends, we are not Americans or Israelis to be your enemies, we are your friends kind of stuff. So this is more of geopolitical benefit out of the situation. Otherwise, if you look at the Chinese internal policies, look at these Uyghurs Muslims, they are not allowed to, run against the Chinese nationalism, If you want to be Muslim in China, hey, you can be, but you have to be Muslim Chinese, not only Muslims. So simple as that. Thank you.
So, US President Donald Trump threatened to kill the supreme leader of Iran, Khamenei. So what does it mean?
Wait a minute. The threat was not done by the President Trump, but by the Israel. And actually the Trump said, hey, don't do it right away. I don't know exactly what's the calculation behind that, but there are a couple of things. Number one, American law prevents killing of the foreign leader. Because the Cuban case, there was a law in the U.S. They can't do that. Legally speaking. Practically, they may do other way around. And so that's one thing. Second one is, if Khomeini still stays alive, and if he negotiates, right? If that is accepted to the Americans also, that'll be more stable than killing the Khomeini off. Say, for example, in Japanese case also, in the Second World War, the Japanese were able to negotiate when, their whole leadership was there, and some of them were hanged also. So my point here is, when the enemies are once, then the leftover may come out bad later. If the Khomeini himself surrenders, as the President Trump demands, that will be better off. But however, I would not bet on that. if the things goes bad, and if the American calculation is the death of the Khomeini is better off than he's still keeping alive, then they will.
Thank you, sir, for joining with us.
Thank you very much. Namaskar.